and welcome to another episode of FitFam Podcast. This is Miss Natural Olympia Hilary.
And this is Doug the Formulator. Welcome.
Welcome.
So this one gets Doug all excited and pumped up and gets me a little more less pumped up, let's say.
A little nervy?
Yeah, I don't so much love controversy or that kind of thing. Doug likes to, go at it if he needs to.
Yeah, but the truth is that, when you're really committed to something, then there really becomes less controversies, in your life and in the world. And hopefully this is one of those times and the things that we talk about today.
Okay, so let's talk conspiracy theories.
But
Here
from a
we
different
go.
angle, right? Are there really secret orders out there designed to, control the human race or end the human race? All that stuff. I wish that's what today's episode was on, but it's not. It's actually more on the conspiracies, if you would, to alter our health and control our health. And so really, is it conspiracy theories or conspiracies? Or is it really just big business, like maybe even unethical, but just big business trying to get your business one way or another?
Okay, so what exactly are we talking about?
Well, let's talk about some of the examples when we talk about conspiracies,
Okay.
right? Just to kind of try to bring it in. Have a little fun for a second, but then we're going to bring it back to really the concept today of health and what that has to do with conspiracy. So let's talk about, like, my favorite, the zombie apocalypse.
I don't think is that a conspiracy theory?
Like some people believe that it's really, really going to happen. So it's a conspiracy theory, and that it's, that it's being caused. And I'm one of them. And the reason is not kind of like the concept of, what's that show? The Walking Dead. Not like.
Have you even watched an episode of that?
I did back a while back. and like I liked it, but in The Walking Dead or movies like that with the zombies, it's not so far going that way. But the truth is that if you're big business, and that's kind of what we're talking about right now, if you're big business, would it really be beneficial to you if you were able to control people's minds and their bodies, where they just go around like zombies and just did what you said and purchased your food or your products or your pharmaceuticals or whatever it might be? So in that essence, would it be smart for big business if they could control you in a zombie-like type manner? Okay.
I see. There's a long way to get there.
What's
but
another one?
Anyways, but I can get on board with that. Not zombies, but I can get on board with the whole big business concept and where that kind of leaves us as the consumer. But like, what about government dependency? I think that's kind of another one that we don't really always want to talk about, but that one's a big one. If government was considered big business, which it is, right? Yeah. So how does the government keep you dependent?
Well, and we see that a lot, right? Yeah. And we see that luckily there's a yin and yang, there's a fight, with that. But, we live in a small town here in Arizona, and we grew up, even you're in a different small town in Arizona, but we grew up around reservations and some great friends, great people that we love from the reservations. Great member of the staff, worked with me for about 8 years with us. And the thing is that even listening to her talk about how sad it is that everyone is dependent on the government for their food, for their care, everything, and it really makes kind of a bad situation. But it's not the worst situation if you're big business or big government. Right. So there's a little bit of a conspiracy theory there, but we can see that.
Yeah, but even not even going, that route, just regular government in our lives, and you see it more and more, people not working as much and kind of relying on, government assistance. So it's everywhere. It
is everywhere, and it is a big deal, right? But thankfully, we live in America, and we have capitalism, the greatest invention on the planet. And but you can see the different forces that want to go back and forth. And is it really a big conspiracy thing, or like group that's trying to cause harm, or is it big business? Mm-hmm. And so, a great way to look at it.
So what about that whole created epidemic thing. I'm gonna let you tackle this one.
Well, are epidemics, pandemics created in that? And,
Or some.
Or some, And the answer is maybe. And I'd love to go again there sometime and go deep down that rabbit hole. But from the purpose of today, really, does big business in any way benefit from like what just happened to us, right? We all went through this huge pandemic. A lot of people don't even want to talk about it now. And we went through this whole thing, and you have the conspiracies, right? The bats, and was it from Wuhan, and was it controlled, and was it created, and all that. Look, I don't know. We don't know. But what we do know about that is that, for example, Pfizer made over $100 billion in revenue. 100 billion, not 100,000, 100 million, 100 billion in revenue from just the pandemic. And so there was some huge benefit, right, for there to be a condition, and then they say, here's the answer to it, and don't do anything else, just take this drug. And so there was huge profit. Whether or not it was created, however it came about, is not for the purpose of this podcast. Maybe she'll unchain me sometime and let me go down that road. But for the purpose of this, the point is it is big business, and big business would have a reason to want to do that because they sell more.
Right. Oh, you're right. You're right. How about wars?
Yeah, and that's another huge one, right? I think without going to wars, because there's so much to do with that, the bottom line is, are there big businesses that benefit from war versus not being a war? And we know that's the case, and that can go all the way from people that make things like equipment and armory and that to other things that have to do with government regulations and finances there.
And relying on your government again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. For sure. Okay, so this one I actually kind of like, and not too bad to talk about, but subliminal advertising and how advertising or advertisers go after their audiences. So you, even thinking about this from a standpoint of a child, think about, were there commercials when you were a child?
That's not very nice.
Just kidding.
In fact, now you're going to let me have to answer that. Not only were there commercials, but there were subliminal commercials, and some of you are going to remember this. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So remember, you asked me. So there were commercials to get you to think that some things were natural that were not. So let me take you back. Boop, 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 boop. McDonald's. Let's go back to early McDonald's. McDonald's, if you remember, they had the Hamburglar, right? And they had all these characters.
Right.
And the Big Macs were flowers that talked, right? In the commercials and stuff. Everything was natural. So as a kid, I honestly did not know, as a little teeny kid, that cows were involved and things like that, and all that. They were plants. They were the talking hamburgers, right? And if you go back and look at the original commercials, mind-blowing marketing that you thought you were going to the health food store if you asked to go to McDonald's, right? So subliminal, but anyways, got me going there.
That's really interesting. Well, that way, and then also how it kind of targets children, and the way, what's so crazy, when we went into that convenience store the other day and we were just like surveying, trying to find, what is the least processed, healthiest thing that we could get there. And I noticed in one of the refrigerators was it's energy drinks now, and it's High C, and like Sunny Delight and something else, and it's children, it's cartoons. It's literally made for a child, and yet it has massive amounts of caffeine and crazy ingredients, and my mind was blown with that. So just targeting kids in general.
Yeah, and I noticed one of those was actually Kool-Aid, right?
Oh, it was Kool-Aid. Yeah. I think that's what I was thinking, yes.
And the Kool-Aid guy, right, was developed by the companies that bought Kool-Aid, which were the tobacco companies, and they made the Kool-Aid because they had the Marlboro Man before that. And so, but now they're advertising to kids. Attractive characters, Russell Brunson talks about, yep. And that's the attractive character now for kids. Maybe it wasn't so bad, it's just sugary drinks, but now it's highly caffeinated sugary drinks, right? When before, on the cigarette side, they were trying to get kids to start.
And think about that. It's not just target, because now they get to target an older generation, just those kids that grew up with that same attractive character, right? So so automatically you're drawn to it because you were drawn to it as a child. So it's such an easy segue, right?
Easy segue. And so subliminal advertising goes even deeper than that too. Back in college, it was right after, you know, the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, when, you know, everything was
10.
like subliminal messaging, like, you know, backtracks on, you know, records and things, you know, and all this stuff. But in college, there were courses about subliminal messaging and just showing that the music you listen to when you go into a lot of department stores things, that subliminally, there are words in there about getting you to buy. And sometimes they're happy words, things like that, but it's all based on getting you to get in the mood to purchase. And the research is strong that subliminal messages can alter your thoughts, at least for a short term, Thus, subliminal messaging works. And if you're a business owner, back to the premise of the podcast, if you're a big business and you're wanting people to buy more of your product, why in the world wouldn't you have that subliminal message?
Yeah, 100%.
So not a conspiracy theory.
Okay, so 5G. This one's interesting. And the more we delve into it, the more I kind of love it, and it's scary, but it's really interesting. Yeah,
it is. And a lot of this comes back to the truths and the understanding when you really dig deep into the human body and health and even the universe, that everything's based on frequencies, right? That's not theory, that's truth. Right. We know that everything's based on frequencies, and your cells in your body, organs, everything's based on frequencies. And when you get around frequencies that disrupt your homeostasis, your balance, then it disrupts everything. Right?
Yeah, and just we'll go right back to that, but I think a lot of people can relate to that when, let's say you've walked into a supermarket or something, and you come across somebody that's frequency is a little bit lower, and you feel it. Like it's not something you just recognize with the eyes, it's actually a feeling. Or if you enter, you know, I remember we had gone into a concert one time. Do you remember that? And we love concerts, but this one was a little more heavy duty, a little heavier metal. And we walked in, and I was fine for a second, and then all of a sudden I just got some bad frequencies going on. And it literally could have been just the people that were near me in that moment. But I think everybody can relate to the frequency thing. Absolutely. And we walked right out, right? We just didn't like that vibe. And so we know that your energy or frequency is everything. And so the big conspiracy theory is that 5G towers and all those things will affect you and affect your health negatively. Well, it's not even really conspiracy theory anymore. We know it to absolutely be true that things called electromagnetic fields, EMFs, affect you from cell phones, from everything. And as we're talking about in our previous episode, really what it comes down to and with kind of everything we're going to finish up with here, is it comes down to accumulation. Is it used to be that we didn't get much EMFs. There wasn't everything around us having it. What is that quote? The dose determines the poison? Exactly. Right? Exactly. And that's it. And the dosing is getting terrible now because everything we have has these frequencies or things that will mess with natural frequencies of the body and of the cell. And so with the 5G thing, absolutely, and it's just compounding on everything else. Is that the straw that broke the camel's back, or is 5G that bad? But really, it doesn't matter at this moment. It matters that we need to be aware that the frequencies in that is a big issue, and that big business plays a role in wanting to, have that be the case because of what it can do to the body. It gets the body out of balance. And when you're out of balance, you don't want to make decisions on your own. In fact, you usually want to just hang and do nothing. And it makes it easier to control when you're not in balance. And that's really key. The more you're focused and your cells are aligned and your frequencies are strong, it's really, really tough to get you away from your goals and your dreams and the things that you should be doing. But it's really easy if you're already out of balance, and it's easy to control a lot more, to purchase things, to do things, to be able to help these businesses. So if we're talking conspiracy theories, and we're talking, I don't know that we put it down on paper, but if we're talking about in the grand scheme of things, if if big business was trying to control you. Let's talk about the medical community and pharmaceuticals a little bit. Let's delve into that.
Okay.
And what would be the point?
Yeah, well, and I think it comes back to business, right?
Yeah.
And, I think that we have to really set the stage in answering that. And that is, look, we believe in capitalism at the highest level. We're entrepreneurs, and we love the entrepreneurial lifestyle and what it can do. And we think it makes the world go round and America be America and all that great stuff. And the thing is, though, within that world of capitalism, you have to have certain ethics. You have to say, look, what the bottom line is, the morals need to be X, ethics need to be X. We need to serve people. We can not even do no harm. Actually, make sure we only do good type situation. And that is a kind of unspoken entrepreneurial code. And there are businesses that don't follow that, right? The cartels don't follow that. They're a big business, right? Things like that. But within the world of that we think legal, there also are a lot of big businesses that don't follow that also. The most prosecuted and fined companies on planet Earth, on the entire planet, are the big pharmaceutical companies, right? Pfizer, Merck, and them. So there's a few things there. But to answer the question, to kind of set that stage, though, because I don't want to think that all big business is bad. There's some huge businesses that are great, people that do a lot of good. But it all comes down to those ethics and morals and what they're about. So on pharmaceuticals, when you are in our world, you hear a lot about the pharmaceutical companies being the big business, right? Like they are it, and everything runs from them. And there's a lot of truth to that. In fact, we'll put a graph in with this episode that you can look at that shows that all of these companies, even in our world, right? All the vitamin companies. And so from Swanson to Douglas Laboratories, Wobenzyme, Centrum, right? A lot of people do One-A-Days, Schiff, all those, that they're owned by pharmaceutical companies now. They all got bought out. And I think we mentioned before that we've been offered many times to get bought out. And there's very few of us left, family-owned businesses. And they're bought out by the pharmaceutical companies. And most people in our industry know that now, if you're kind of in our industry. But where you are going is really important, is that then, so is big pharma really the big issue, the big problem here? And truly, that it's not. It's bigger than that. Big pharma is owned by a couple giant hedge funds called BlackRock and Vanguard. And a lot of people never heard of them before, or you might not think you care. But for the purpose of closing out the podcast today, when we get into the what to do about it thing, it's important to know the big picture. And the big picture is this, is the reason we talked about the conspiracy theories and all that, is that there are a couple giant conglomerates. They're called hedge funds. They're just a different form of a corporation that control all the pharmaceutical companies. They control almost all the other companies in existence today, including Amazon, Apple, and all them. And here's how it works. Basically, these hedge funds own percentages of a lot of companies or the whole company. And because of that, they control them. And as a hedge fund, it's not owned by one entity. It's owned by multiple people, whoever has the most shares in it. So what does that mean? That means that this company, BlackRock and Vanguard, they own shares of, say, Amazon. So Jeff Bezos owns a certain amount, and you're like, he owns Amazon. Well, really, if you combine the ownership of BlackRock and Vanguard, they own more than Jeff Bezos. And you can go all the way around a lot of the corporations, you think certain people own them, and it comes back to them. So is there a big conspiracy theory about that? No, that's just fact. You can trace it all back. It's really easy. We're going to meet with our doctors next week in Tucson, right? Like 130 of them from all over the nation. And we're going to go through this in detail with them, like explain the companies and bring it all the way back to try to get them to realize, look, there's a lot of reason that people would use subliminal messages to be a part of want to take advantage of epidemics of the pandemic and those types of things, whether they make them or control them or not, of starting wars, of 5G, of the foods, processing them so that it makes you want to crave more and more of their food.
Yeah,
and
we didn't hit that a whole lot.
That's a good one.
The whole food thing. Yeah, I mean, why put the dyes and the chemicals and everything into these foods? Well, you to make you want them more, So.
Yeah, and the research shows that with the ghrelin and leptin hormones in the body, and we've talked so much about this, the last 2 months, a lot, just individually together and with our family, about how these chemicals in the processed foods now, we know based on research, are making us crave more of those foods. Well, that's great for business, but it's not great for health, especially if those foods don't provide health to the body. And who makes those chemicals, right?
Well, and think about, just a little bit off topic, but think about the empty calories. What happens when you're consuming empty calories? Well, you want more of the empty calories because you're never feeling like you've gotten satisfied. And so having those foods and eating it the way they're, the way that you do, the way that they're made, you want more and more for a bunch of different reasons.
Yeah.
You're never getting filled. The chemicals keep you wanting more. It messes with your hormones, so you want more,
Yeah, and I love your comment about the 0 calories. I think I get so fixated on the chemicals and that because I want to show and prove that the chemicals, cause these reactions in the body to make you want to crave more. If they just take the calories out, the macronutrients, and the body's like, just like you said, you want more of it. And so you crave more food, the simple version of it. So that's really good. Okay. So to kind of finish that out though, who owns the companies that make the dyes, that are only allowed in America now, right? Red dye and blue is only in America now. A lot of these chemicals are only in America now. They're owned by the pharmaceutical companies, made in America. That's why when we were in Paris and London, that those foods tasted different and they were easier on our stomachs, and that we didn't have those concerns with the chemicals.
It really was such an interesting thing. Oftentimes when we're done with the show and we indulge a little bit more than we should, myself especially, after about a day or two, you really start to just feel it and you're like, oh, no more, I can't, take it. But when we were overseas, it was so interesting because we did overindulge, but yet we didn't feel crummy after days. We really, so it's just a testament to the cleaner, more whole food that you can find elsewhere.
Absolutely. And so all of this comes down to, we talked about, this is about conspiracy theories, but really the focus today isn't so much of whether some of those are true or not, as it is that the absolute truth of big business, if unethical, wants to control every part of your life so that they will be able to benefit financially from everything you do, from the food you put into your mouth to the
medicines you have to take.
The medicines you have to take, to the decisions you make, right? Everything all the way around. And so it's really, really important to understand that. The clothes you buy, those things. I mean, we're working on clothing that's going to help, block EMF things like that. It's just, there's so many factors.
I'm okay with the subliminal messaging on clothing, though. Let's make that clear. They can target me all they want.
little Louis Vuitton thing or something that we talk about?
Come at me.
It's terrible. So anyways, so let's kind of get to, a lot of people are like, what in the world has this got to do with our health and stuff? And let's break it down for them, because remember, we want to use our acronym to help people understand the importance of what they need to do to improve their health. And we can probably do the same thing today.
Okay, so we're just going to hit that. And because what's the point? What's the point about talking about all of these, conspiracy theories? Well, what can we do on our end to make the most clear, choices that help us, long term, not in the moment, spur of the moment, gonna do it because we've been targeted. But so focused, intense thought. We're going to talk about that. Things that alter your brain chemistry, make it tougher for you to make decisions on your own, and help you to just have to comply. So if your cells are not stable, then it'll hold you back, right? So how do you create a clearer mind? So we have a few ideas here. HIT, so your health identity trait, is really big because it can be your why. It's the reason that you want to keep your mind clear and keep your body healthy and have energy. So that's really important. Quiet time without other influence is really good for the mind. Meditation, prayer, watching a sunset or a sunrise without any technology near you. Grounding is a really great tool to use. What else? Time in nature.
Yeah, big time in nature, because you're just getting you back to that right frequency, right? You have the less of the electromagnetic fields around you, and it really helps a ton.
Yeah. So what about something that you didn't know you were going to do, but deep breathing. So I'm going to have Doug demonstrate.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, deep breathing is a huge thing. In my very first book, before it was even popular, we talked about it, and it actually started to be used at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado because of the huge benefit through it. So basically, everyone, if you'll just take a deep breath, as far as you can, and now, even though you're as far as you can, take another breath even deeper. Fill up the lungs. You want to fill up those lower lungs, and then let it out, but let it out forcefully. And when you let all that air out, as far as you can, I want you to do more. That last little bit. When you can't do more, do it again. Okay? And then you would do that right back into that full breath again without hesitation, and do it 6 times, 9 times. And what you'll find is that you're actually bringing air into the lower part of the lungs, the lower lobes that most people never use, and you're oxygenating the blood at the level it's supposed to, that very few of us do. That's why one of the reasons we want to exercise is to be able to force that oxygen, right?
And doing that while you're grounding, even better. Yeah. While you're watching a sunset, even better.
Even better. And so for the focus intense thought, the key there for the purpose of this podcast is for you to understand that the stronger your mindset, the stronger your why, okay, then the more stable your cells are, because you have a defined purpose. And when you have a defined purpose in life, for your family, for your business, for your health, then the cells become more stable, and it's harder to get them off track, to be influenced, a better word for it, right? Harder to be influenced, and you're able to stay strong, and you're able to avoid the zombie apocalypse. Okay.
Which is really what this is about.
That's what it's about.
Nutrition. So let's go into nutrition.
Okay, so foods really can be modified, as you'd mentioned, to cause the body to crave more. They can be modified to actually have chemicals in them that will disrupt your ghrelin, your leptin, the craving, but also to disrupt the friendly bacteria in the body and to help destroy them, which lowers your immune system, makes you more dependent on other things.
And foods can be more attractive with their color. That's why they use food coloring, because it's more of a vibrant color. So it can be more visually appealing.
100%. Pesticides, chemicals. Most of the pesticides and chemicals that were used growing up aren't even allowed now because they showed how bad they were. But the problem is they're modifying chemicals so fast and getting them on the market. And we're the consumers until they're banned, and then they pull them again. And it's absolutely crazy the way the market works, the big business for the pesticide and chemicals, that factor when it comes to food.
For sure. And soon we're going to do an episode where, we buy all the junk food, and then we buy the healthier version of the junk food. Because, let's be honest, we're all going to indulge at some point in some type of processed food. So our goal is to show a better option for the worst things.
Absolutely.
But when we're talking right now, the biggest and best thing you can do is get away from processed food as much as you can, which then means you're going to be eating more produce,
more fruits,
right?
vegetables,
more fruits
berries,
and vegetables, and so we wanted to kind of hit how organic is best, right? Because we're trying to stay away from pesticides. But the other day, Doug was speaking with somebody, and he says, to me, the most pesticide thing I could eat after I wash it is a much better choice than digging my hand into something that's processed and eating that. And so the best way to wash your fruits and vegetables, we kind of wanted to hit that. Obviously, washing them in general should be a no-brainer. Wash your fruits and vegetables. It's best, I feel like, for me, if when I'm done grocery shopping, I wash them and prepare them. We do best when I do that.
Absolutely, because late night snackers, everything else, getting into the refrigerator, we want it right now.
We want it to be accessible.
We don't want to wait till it's out and gone through that. So
if
it's in the fridge, it's already washed. Boom, we're good.
So how do you wash it? Rinsing is important. Even better is to soak for 5-10 minutes, and after it's soaked for 5-10 minutes, rinse. Even better would be to soak it with water and vinegar, 3 to 1. 1 vinegar to 3, however much water. If you do 3 cups of water, you would do 1 cup of vinegar.
Baking soda.
baking soda.
Right, a teaspoon of baking soda and a cup of water,
Mm-hmm.
and in that ratio, and build it up.
And then you just always rinse them. Still do the rinsing process even after you've soaked to get everything off. And then Doug and I also have an ultrasonic washer. I don't always use it. I need to bust that thing out again. So those are also really
Absolutely.
great.
And they are. I think anything you can do to clean it and do it right when you get it, that's the answer. But as Hilary mentioned, the worst raw food is better than the best processed food. So eat your fruits and vegetables. Eat your fruits and vegetables.
Wash them and eat them.
Wash them and eat them. Okay, but please don't get. Well, I'm not going to have strawberries. Right, that's the big thing. Is strawberries, because they can retain the most pesticides. They can retain the most pesticides, but they also still have the natural antioxidants and enzymes and things in them that help you tremendously more. Now, what's better? Get that stuff off. So do the washing. But don't overlook the big picture when it comes to fruits, vegetables, berries. And now you're getting hit up. If you haven't heard already, there's from the Bill Gates Foundation, and that they made a thing called Apeel, APEEL, that they're coating fruits and vegetables to make them last longer now. And the problem is in that coating, and you're like, dang, it's just, what can I eat now? Like in the fruits and vegetables. It is an issue, and it's worth talking about at times. But the key is just clean, wash them, do the best you can, eat your foods as close to natural as possible.
If you can buy locally, that often makes a big difference in the whole pesticide
Absolutely.
deal. Okay, so after nutrition, so we're going through fitness. We've done focused intense thought. We've done nutrition. Let's go to exercise. Too much television, social media can lead to a lazy body and a lazy mind. Am I right?
100%. We're really big on that. And what does that do? What does a lazy body and lazy mind do? It makes you, makes the ability for you to be controlled much easier because you don't feel like doing things. How many times do you know that have been beneficial for you to do something? You didn't have the energy, you were tired, you were lazy. Lazy meaning just mentally, you're not used to making the hard decisions to get up and exercise. A lot of times that decision to do that helps you many times in life, even more than the fact that your body is a little more fit, that you're used to making those hard decisions. And so it goes back to the whole zombie apocalypse thing. I'm really trying to fix and stop the zombie apocalypse. That's what I'm trying to do here.
If it happens, you want to be able to run fast.
Fast. And so at least faster than the person next to you. So exercise is critical.
You would be so dead. Because you might be faster at a short distance, but long distance, you're done. I'm way in front of you.
So what do we do about it? The answer is what we always say, but the research backs up the answer in a huge way.
Yeah, so 60 minutes of exercise a day is what is ideal. And it's what we all should be doing. However, that can feel very daunting if you're just starting out in the exercise and movement world. So let's make some small goals and 30 minutes of movement. When you're first starting out, it doesn't even have to be super intense. When you're first starting out, it's about the consistency of movement. So however you're going to get that movement. Now, the trick is that it has to be outside of your normal working hours. We hear a lot of people, no, I walk a lot in my job. I have to go up and downstairs. Well, that's good, but we're talking about dedicated moving time that is dedicated to just the movement itself, not dedicated to you getting from here to there to go do something for work. We're talking about dedicated moving time.
Absolutely. And really the other part of that is why it needs to be outside of work is that wherever your work is, I don't care if your work's in the home, whether it's in a normal office, whether you're a construction worker, whatever it is, that your job, whatever you do, right, for the living and wherever you go, you're going to work certain muscles. And you need to balance that. And so your exercise really should be, number one, about balancing the muscles from what you use every day so that you don't become imbalanced and cause strains and issues like that. And then secondly, you want to be able to have a body that once you get that balance, that then the fitness level increases. And that's where the intensity and learning. Right. So if you do not know how to balance your body, the muscles separate from the muscles you use at work, hire a trainer, tell them what you do for a living, and they'll design one for you. And then once you get that under control, then you're like, hey, I want to go to the next level of fitness. I want to shape the body a little more. I want to burn more fat. I want to do those things. But that's why we so highly emphasize getting with a pro, at least for a while, and learning what to do.
Right. And we're talking about movement for health. You know, I know it can get misconstrued a bit that we're talking about movement for aesthetic benefit, which happens if you are working out a lot and really taking care of yourself at a high level. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about a healthy movement, blood flow, clarity of mind, strong muscles, limber joints. You know, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, clarity of mind, so you don't become a zombie, and limber and fast joints to be able to handle the issue.
I can't.
Got
Okay.
it? Okay, then supplements.
We
SS.
need to wrap it up.
And so supplements are actually some of the biggest problem, and people don't talk enough about this. And it's mainly because most of the companies are owned by the pharmaceutical companies, and that's why there's not a lot of people talking about this. But synthetic vitamins, synthetically made vitamins in the lab, chemicals don't fix many of the issues that people take vitamins for. In fact, they can add to the problem, which many people say, well, those don't work. I'm going to go take the drugs, right? But either way, big pharma and that's happy because they own both. So it's important that you take in certain nutrients. We know the research is extremely strong. They did the research study showing you have to take in over 25,000 calories a day to get the RDA, what your body needs just to be healthy. And that's way too many calories. You'd be gaining about 7 pounds of fat a day if you ate that many calories. So we know you need to supplement. And the supplements need to be whole food to be able to combat the deficiencies that happen, that is in everyday life. We can't get away from it. So you need to supplement, but you need to supplement with the whole food, so then you get better clarity of the mind, of the cells, of every part of your body, so that you're able to even hold stronger to that vision, that goal you have for family or your business or whatever it might be. And the answer to that is take good whole food vitamins, right? Search out good whole food vitamins, supplements. We have our own supplement company that's whole food vitamin, and we like to refer people to it. But the bottom line is you need whole food vitamins. No matter what, make sure they're whole food vitamins. And then we like you going a step further, and that is find out exactly what your body needs through talking to the health professional, to questionnaires, to we love blood work, and those types of things. There's always links in there to the programs that you can take advantage of, like Nutrients RX, to find out what you need. But the key is if you get the cells strong and balanced from whole foods, you're able to resist a lot of these big business and pharma's, approaches to get you to, be a part of that circle, that vicious cycle, and of purchasing, everything in your life from them. What do you think? Wasn't so bad.
It was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, we had a discussion about this before we started, but
Do you call that? Is it a discussion?
Yeah, it was
a heated discussion.
No, it's fine. So we did the podcast, right? So, anyways, I'll pay for that. So let's truly wrap it up from the concept of, look, conspiracy theories. Maybe there's a lot of different things, whether it's conspiracy theory or not, but there's many things that big business benefits from all of those things. And there is big business in the world, and it goes from the smallest companies all the way up to the giant pharmaceutical companies that want to control the health side of it, that to the companies that own them, that have their hands in everything, so that it's easy to make that vicious cycle of loving to control us. And the best way to do it is to lower the health of the individual that you're wanting to control, because if you lower their health, they become more dependent on you, and that's the last thing that we want for you and for everyone. We want everyone to have their free thinking, their freedom, their ability to have capitalism, to enjoy life and be more present.
To be more present and to make the choices you want to make because they benefit you and your family.
Because you want to.
Because you want to.
That's awesome.
Just want to.
Again, this is Miss Natural Olympia Hilary.
And this guy right here.
Zombie!
For you later.
Have a good one. Keep chewing.